Do 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 do. It is a 9 a.m. here in Los Angeles. And 30 seconds, roughly. Okay? Thank you, thank you, Jesse Lee Peterson, for an excellent JLP show. I'm live on, it should be live on YouTube. Sup, Everblazer, Mr. Gamer, Cloud Bops, Fish Fanatic, Turnadre, Clayton. Thank you, Jesse Lee Peterson, rating the stream over on Rumble. What's up, WT1? And I ought to be live over on pilled.net/The Hake Report. I'm too much of a boomer. We are too much of boomers to know how to... Oh, cool. Look at this. I'm just lounging around like this leopard. Can a leopard change his spots? Is that a leopard? I don't even know. Is it a cheetah? I don't know cheetahs. I don't know leopards. I don't know Canada. I don't know Alberta. I don't know Ontario. I don't know Saskatchewan or whatever you guys call that thing. But we're going to have a fun, loosey-goosey, The Hake Report. And I don't have to say show because it's just The Hake Report. See that? Oh, what a boomer. Lord. And I would like to disavow everything said by Hake, or at least to disclaim. Everything said by Hake, by callers, by clips, by everything, because we don't represent this host. We don't represent, I don't represent Bond, you represent you. And you probably don't even do that right. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? So there's no promotion or disclaimer, or it's not meant to endorse anything or condemn anybody or anything. Take everything that you hear on the Hake Report and honestly perhaps everywhere with a grain of salt. Like JLP rightly says, although I am on his network, I don't represent the network, and neither do you, nor the sleazy callers. Shout out. Your callers are not sleazy. I'm kidding around. I'm hamming it up, we'll call it. But, I mean, sometimes the callers are kind of sleazy, let's be honest. But Hake is no angel either, and so it doesn't represent the Jesse Lee Peterson network or anything, you know? So the views and opinions and information, I do try to keep it right, but I can't even keep it right. I don't even know what's right. So disavow it all. That's my disclaimer. Okay? All right. And it doesn't represent the platforms. Obviously doesn't represent YouTube or Facebook or pilled.net. Shout out to pilled.net. It's run by veterans, I heard. Founded and run by veterans. It doesn't represent even punchy.tv. What's up, Jim in Alaska? Good morning to you. It's still morning in Alaska. It's afternoon, early afternoon to David in Ocala, Florida. Shout out. And the rest of you guys back east, over in the East Coast, where it is freshly noontime. What's up, Kilo Alpha Tango? Qatar. Are you funded by Qatar? Hey, tomorrow I may have Omar, third rail with Omar, because you know he likes the Middle East, and I do too. He likes different parts of the Middle East from what I like. I've never been. He was born in Yemen. There's a little lizard there, lizard here. Look at that. Is that a fence lizard? Beautiful thing. I'm too slow to catch it. I'm liable to tear off its tail. So Omar, third rail might be coming on tomorrow. I don't know if I've confirmed with him, but I suggested it. He wanted to talk about, the war going on between Israel and, they are warring right now. I think it's pretty undeniable that they are warring. War. Israel-based Bibi and the based supreme leader. I don't know if he's based. I don't know if anybody's based. I use the term loosely. But, Omar tomorrow, perhaps? Israel, Iran. I'm a big-time Israel fan. And he's a big-time non-Israel fan. A fan of not Israel. Or not Zionism, anyway. It'll grow back, Hake, says Lori, if he survives. That's his fat deposit, right? Can we please not talk about Kush today, Hake? It's getting old. Yeah, everything is getting old. We beat stuff to death. Metaphorically speaking, kids. Metaphysically speaking, YouTube, Facebook. On the Hake report. What a mess. So, you can call in 1-888-775-3773, and you can super chat. One easy way to go to super chat is just going into your web browser and going into thehakereport.com. Okay? It's a nice way to do it. I think it's a nice way to do it. And there's if you go, watch, I'll even show you real quick. Here, down right here, boom. Here, let me get myself out of the way. You see there's this little coffee icon in the lower right corner of thehakereport.com. You click on it, you enter your name, make sure you enter it right the first time, otherwise it may save wrong. And then you say something that you want to state, and you buy 1 coffee, $3, 2 coffees, or 3 coffees, $9, or 5 coffees, $15, $3 a coffee, right? And then support Hake, or say you don't want to support Hake, but you just want me to read and respond to something on air. Because, for example, I don't know if Popcorn's Thump Keg or JC really think of themselves as supporting my show. But they've sent in suggestions and requests and questions and comments, and I respond to them. So, nice, much appreciated. But anyway, guys, let's just get right on with the show!
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake report. The Hake report. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake report. The Hake report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake report. The Hake report. La la la.
So, how you guys doing? I am fine. Look at this bee. Look, it's a bee. Ugh, I don't want to get stung. Here, let me go back a little bit. You see that? You see the bee? Are you impressed with my skills? My video, scrolling back in the video skills? Look at that thing. Ugh. Are you scared? You scared, kids, ladies? You scared? The bee is not actually that size. Depending on the size of your screen, the bee is actually, normal-sized honeybee or whatever it is. Cool. Beautiful. Beautiful thing. But anyway. Oh, that was interesting. Sweet. I would like to get to a call or two right off the bat and then hopefully get to some of the news going on in the world and just different things that I'd like to cover. But Alex in California is on the line here. And Alex, what's up?
Thank you, Bear.
Hey.
Well, happy birthday to Alex in California.
Oh, nice. Happy birthday, man. Alex
39 years young.
39, you said.
Yep.
That's cool. That's a respectable age.
Yeah, I guess. So I have a fun fact, a brief story, and then a short anecdote.
Okay.
Am I coming through nice and clear and everything?
You are. It's sounding fine.
Okay, perfect. So like we talked about last week, I was raised in a Methodist church.
Yeah.
And it was in New Haven, Connecticut. I'm not going to dox it, but it was a pretty large church in New Haven, Connecticut, and it just so happened to be part of the Underground Railroad.
Wow.
And the reason I know this is because my brother and I, we would have our Sunday school thing in the beginning of church, and then however long that lasted, I'm not sure, but in each room of this church, like in all the classrooms and all the back rooms, aside from the main congregation, there would be these little trap doors in the corners. And we would, when the teachers went around, we'd kind of screw around and we'd open them up and go down in them. And they always had this kind of creepy feel, very dark. It's like basically a crawl space of the church. So
yeah,
kind of creepy.
Wow.
But I guess they would hide them down in there and
hide the runaway slaves who escaped rather than going about it the right way and purchasing their freedom. They illegally escaped with the help of that one woman they claim ran the Underground Railroad, Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman, yeah.
And so the Methodist church was it a Methodist church back then in those days too? In New England?
Yeah, New Haven.
New Haven, Connecticut.
Yeah.
That's where they're extreme. I'm not surprised. You told me before that you doxed your parents as being liberal Christians. Doxing is not the right word, but
exposed.
Yeah, they are. I've learned that they are very liberal. The so-called Christians over in I call that area New England. I don't know if it's actually New England, but the North, Connecticut, I guess New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, maybe Maine, Pennsylvania, Maine. Yeah, those are all like liberal areas. Look, there's Harriet Tubman.
It's interesting because it's part of the North, so you'd think. Well, no, I guess that makes sense. And the weird part though is, my parents are both hardcore liberals, but they moved us to California because my dad was saying everyone was a golfing Republican.
They moved you to California because they were all golfing Republican? They used to be, probably.
Yeah, my dad didn't want to be around the right-wing stuff anymore because the rest of our family, I guess, are Republicans, and I guess the community was more Republican than he preferred.
Over in Connecticut?
Yeah, in New Haven.
Wow.
So he shipped us off to San Diego, I'm guessing in hopes to turn my brother and I into these blue-haired nose ring-wearing liberals, but it didn't really turn out that way.
Oh, he's saying over in New Haven they were golfing Republicans, but not in California.
Yeah, at least that was my father's perspective.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Who knows?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they are just kind of like normie like Reagan Republicans. Everybody's a Reagan Republican now, according to them.
Yeah, I'm sure they were, and I'm sure they were completely normal people.
Yeah, right.
I don't hate to bash my dad or make him out to be this like crazy liberal. And the next thing is actually my brief story, which is about my dad. We just had Father's Day, and at their church they have a lesbian female preacher.
Yeah.
And for at least 2 years in a row now on Father's Day, this woman has a tendency to kind of bash men, bringing up just negative stuff like alcoholism and raping and abuse and just all sorts of stuff that we don't need to hear about on Father's Day.
Right.
They'll always uplift the mothers and everything. So my dad, I guess for the third year in a row of hearing it, he had a based moment where he stopped her, I guess, in the middle of the sermon and kind of put her in her place and told her, like not all dads are like that. Like, sorry that your father was like that and you have those issues with them, but some of us, basically provided for our families and raised children who love us and yada yada.
Wow.
So yeah, I was like, that's awesome. Dad. Like I felt like really proud of him. He ended up pissing my mom off pretty bad, I guess, because he embarrassed her. The whole church is majority is women, so she got all pissed off at him all day. But I told him, thankfully from listening to you and Jesse, I'm like, don't let her emotions like even bother you at all. Like that's all her. Like you did what you needed to do. Some of these broads needed to hear that, and good for you. It's your day. So.
It's not like it's some church that he's just visiting as a stranger. He's a regular there. He's a member there.
Oh yeah, they've been going there for years. Yeah.
So they know him, and so I don't think it's out of order. I feel like I've read in the Bible perhaps something to the effect of if you stay silent when people are putting out lies, your silence could come off as agreement. And I don't know if your dad only spoke up because he was irritated or because it was just being based and telling the truth, being a man, but right on to him, I think. I like that.
I think it's a little bit of both because it's like the third year in a row. But yeah, I was proud of him. I was like, I was, I'm not making fun of them, but they're liberals, but
right.
I was very happy to hear that he had a based moment.
Yeah, that's cool. It could be a beginning, but either way, it's a
all of a sudden he's going to start liking Trump.
I know. Well, it starts sometimes. It starts with stuff like this.
Darn women.
Yeah. That's funny, man. That's
and
cool.
then the last thing I'll zip through it because it might be very uninteresting to other people. But did you catch my comment? Maybe one or two comments about speeding up the playback speed and listening to your intros.
I did. That was funny. I actually played the intro. That was the AJ Gallardo intro, and I just listened to my whole like opening and the AJ Gallardo intro, and it sounded kind of cool.
Yeah, it sounds neat, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure where I heard it, but I spend all day, well, a good portion of my day podcasting. So someone suggested putting it on 2x to get through it quicker because it's like 2 or 3 hours podcast.
That's true.
So my sweet spot is 1.75 speed. But yeah, if you go between like 1.5 and 2.5 speed on stuff, not only do you get through things quicker, but you'll start to notice things. Like my friend and I watched this one guy who pretends to have a lot of confidence, but he's not a very confident speaker. And when you're watching it on 2x, you can see him kind of sink back into his chair and folding and fidgeting his hands and looking around, like all this stuff that you don't see in like normal speed.
Wow.
Starts to really come. Yeah, it's interesting. And we were thinking maybe that's something that like they do when you're getting interrogated. Like they probably videotape you and then maybe speed it up to see all your little ticks come out.
Yeah. That's awesome,
it was
man.
something. Yeah, it was something interesting to me. I don't know if anyone else would find that interesting, but yeah, on your YouTube settings, you can go to playback speed and speed it up, and interesting things happen.
Yeah, there's a little gear icon in one of the corners, and you click it, and there's a playback speed normal. There's 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, and 2. Yeah, and I've heard that before too, because people listen on Apple Podcasts, and they listen to it at a faster speed when they listen to sometimes Jesse's shows or whatever, and that's a nice tactic sometimes, especially for to save time.
And make sure you turn it off when you don't want it because it'll continue. Because I remember one time I had it on 2x and then I listened to a band. And I was like, oh my God, this band sounds amazing. And then I went back and listened to them the next day at normal speed. I'm like, what the hell happened? And that's kind of how I fell into it. But yeah, it's something cool to try out. So, and that's all I got for today.
Right on, man. You know what's funny is Anchor Baby and some of the other hosts have listened to when they played stuff for their audience. They've played at like a faster speed. And he's trying to train, Anchor Baby has tried to train his audience to get used to that. And so if you're listening to Anchor Baby at double speed, you may have like, I don't know what math is, but could quadruple speed for the clip that he plays. Anyway.
Right.
That's cool, man.
Well, yeah, and then pro tip on all that, speeding it up is cool, but if you want to have a real fun time, listen to Trump on half speed. Slow him down.
Nice. All right.
It's amazing. All right, hey, Kel, have a good day.
You as well, man. Take care. That's cool. Also cool is William number 7 in California. William, appreciate you calling, man. How's it going?
Well, I appreciate you having a show.
Nice.
Hake.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Shout out to
I
JLP.
am
and Bond.
amazing, and I am well.
Okay.
So, hey, I had a question.
Yeah.
You said, I've heard you a lot mainly say based, and you guys used it in this last call. And so if I were to try to guess what it means in context, and if I'm wrong, I mean, that's why I'm calling you to
Cool.
find out what you mean by based.
Nice.
So
I
when
want to hear.
somebody's being based. Oh, okay. So I guess when you said that guy said his father spoke up because of something that was kind of evil for 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
And he just spoke up and just spoke the truth. So I guess base, you're saying just what the bottom line is, maybe how the cow ate the cabbage, and to say it in strength without being afraid or nervous and just saying the truth and not being all emotional about it. And so is that what being based is, just being a man about anything?
That's how I use it. Yes.
Okay. So I guess I just want to say what I used to think, and I'm just telling you my stupid, retarded brain, when I would hear you go based, I thought you were being not negative, but it was the derogatory. Like, you're base, like you're down there. Shut up. What do you know?
Yeah, because
let me use you. Let me use you as a hassock. Let me put my feet on you and shut the hell up.
whoa.
I'll tell you when you get up. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, because base
like,
without the D at the end refers to like basic,
the bottom.
stupid.
Yes,
very
it can mean that,
yeah,
but it could
yeah.
also be foundation where the strength is.
The lowest part or edge of something, very base, just bottom of the barrel type of stuff. Or based means I like to liken it to being on a solid foundation. Now I'm using
and I
I
didn't think of it that way.
I learned the word
But now I do.
in the same way that you learned it, by context clues. So I may be using it in a way that the originators of the slang word, because it's slang, meant it. Now you'll see communists and liberals use the term based now, and they'll refer to it to being liberal or communist, you know? And then there's Jew haters or Jew critics who, if you say something, ideally it's true, but sometimes it's not true, but very critical of the Jews, they'll call that based. And that's probably where I first heard it. It was from like.
Now it sounds
Jewish
like
critics.
you put a D at the end of that one.
Yeah, with
Did
a
you
D
put
at the end. Yep, based.
Is that how
B-A-S-E-D.
you say it, or do you say base?
No, with a D at the end. I say it past tense.
Oh, see, sometimes I don't hear the D when you say it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean to have
I
the
don't
D
hear
at
it.
the end. Is it past tense or is it present participle or whatever?
Well, based, it does depend on the context, because I think base. Well, when we think the bottom of something, the scum, when we're thinking of it as base. Well, base of something is a noun. But it's also position.
Based
So,
as a slang, based, B-A-S-E-D, as a slang. It might have started from a black rapper, actually.
What? What the?
Typical. All the stylish language, vernacular, comes from these blacks. Based as a slang term typically means to be true to oneself, independent and unconcerned with the opinion of others, often with a sense of swagger or confidence. It was originally
nice.
It was originally reclaimed by a rapper, Lil B, which might mean Lil Based God or something like that. I forget. I'm vaguely remembering different things that maybe Anchor Baby or some young millennial told me. However, the term's been adopted by some as a term of praise for those holding right-leaning or anti-establishment views, often used in an ironic or antagonistic way. That's partly why I call him based Bibi Netanyahu, because a lot of the Jew critics do not like Bibi for some weird reason, even though many of them acknowledge that Bibi is he's a good nationalist for his country, but he's a bit Zionist, and maybe they don't think he's good for America, but whatever. Anyway, the alt-right, Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking, since you brought up Bibi Netanyahu, when he talks, he sounds very Russian-like, even Slavic, kind of like.
That might partly be
my
why
father.
I like him. Like your father, did you say?
So my father, who adopted me, his mom came from, and parents came from Yugoslavia.
Okay.
They were, because my parents who adopted me, if they were still alive, they'd be 100.
Wow,
So my
cool.
dad's mom came from Yugoslavia. I remember watching videos, the old-fashioned 8mm that you buy this little mini projector and set it up. I don't know if you ever had that. Or if your parents
the projector. Those are cool.
Yeah.
Where you show the slides and you cycle through the slides on the ring thing.
No. It was actually a movie. It was real.
Nice.
It was
those things.
A projector.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing my dad's mom, and it was like, yes, it was just, I'll never forget. And it's funny that my dad's, my mom who adopted me, she became her. And I never put it together until I listened to JLP, I think, a year ago now.
Yeah.
So I've been listening to y'all for about a year.
Nice, man. I didn't know that you were that recent of a listener.
Yeah, I think I called JLP first, when Sean was still the producer.
Nice.
And talked just really briefly. It was right before you guys were, I think, going off air. And then JLP told me to call me again.
Cool.
And every time I've tried since then, either the line goes dead or something. I don't know. And then usually it's busy. So, but yeah. So thank you for answering that. I think I did not know that. And I guess I could have just looked it up like you did. But
it's funner on air.
I appreciate you.
I think the conversation is kind of fun.
Maybe others were thinking and wondering. And now if they had if they were thinking wrong, now they've been corrected in love, I think.
Going back to Bibi a little bit, I really think of Bibi as one of the few politicians who comes off as manly. A lot of these politicians just don't come off as manly at all. Trump comes off totally as manly, just himself.
Oh, absolutely. Him and, and if you want me to, I can maybe imitate his voice a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. He has actually a slight Philadelphia accent, according to Google AI, which is basically Reddit, according to Ivana, who's a woman who's actually funny in the chat.
Ivana?
Yeah, in the live chat.
I never heard of a woman named Ivana.
Oh, no, I've heard of two women named Ivana. There's Ivana Trump, the late, great Ivana Trump, and then there's Ivana in the snake pit. But anyway, he speaks fluent Hebrew and flawless American English. Bibi does.
Oh, no,
Traces of a Philly accent due to spending his youth in the United States, because I think he was born in America, if I'm not mistaken. Was he born here?
Really?
So I don't know.
Huh.
Anyway, but yeah, he sounds.
Well, he reminds me of my grandpa on my mom's side.
I don't just mean his accent or his look. I mean how he. I mean, he does come off a little bit male feminist, but you kind of have to be if you're. I don't know if you have to be, but a lot of these politicians do. Trump too. He's like for the women. But Bibi is just sensible in his language. It just comes off well. I don't know, man. It just
very good orator. Just like what's his name was. He was a good orator.
Who's that?
Despite everything else. Mr. Obama.
Oh, you think so?
Ex-President Obama. He was a very good orator.
That's what people claimed. I mean, he speaks in terms of presenting himself and being charming. You could call it
Who
that.
knows?
He doesn't have that black
I did,
vernacular.
you know, I've known none of these presidents personally. I don't know them. I only know what I see on TV and what people say.
Yeah.
And with Trump, I watched him fire a lot of people.
Nice.
I've watched him build a lot of buildings. I watched him on Donahue back in the 80s, 70s, talking about all he wanted to do is build buildings and towers and stuff like that.
That's right.
So I remember seeing that. So speaking of that, I know, and I'll try to be quick and finish up here.
Okay.
So I think if you remember, in my hometown of only 12,000 people, there's a main street that goes through and another one that crosses that goes on another highway. And these protesters come every Wednesday.
Boy.
About 10 o'clock. And so I've been wanting to just ask both sides, hey, what are you here for? And why are you putting these signs up? And how's this going to help? You know, kind of like JLP style, just ask questions and try not to offend anybody.
Yeah.
But it did not work. I went to the Democrat side first, mainly because there was a donut shop behind there. And, you know, being an ex-military policeman and being fat, I like donuts. And so I went to go in and get one. And but then they were all folding up and putting their chairs away. And I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing? I'm like, what are you protesting? And this guy, and he had an Air Force hat on. And he was about 10 years older than me and skinny and little. And I thought, I'll build rapport with this guy. I'll be able to, you know, maybe get something out of him. And he immediately goes, you like Trump? And I'm like, he was all pissed off. And I'm like, I said, well, I don't really know him. I said, I only know what the TV tells me about him and the news and all that. And he goes, oh. Then he looks at me and goes, well, you better hope he doesn't get his way because you'll probably have to leave. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, you're probably a wetback. And I was like, what? And I'm like, he literally just called me a wetback in my hometown. I don't even know this guy, right? And I'm just trying to get a donut, you know? So I'm like, so then he goes, yeah, he got really mad and started, you know, when you get mad, you start spittling when you speak. You know, like spittle comes out of your face. So I'm like, dude, I served, I actually live here and I am not an illegal citizen.
Right.
And he goes, well, then he accuses me of something else, walks away like he knows me. And I got mad in the moment, or not mad, but I wanted to make him come back because he was just walking away.
Yeah.
And I told him to get the hell back here, you stupid, beep, beep. And he turned around and said, I'm not one of your beep sergeants, right? And he picked up the sign and like he was going to thrust me in the head with it, right? He got that angry. And this was in public, in front of a store. And I'm like, you know, and so a bunch of other people saw it and they came and apologized on his behalf. And this Jewish couple actually came up and talked to me for about 15 minutes. But that guy went away and was angry and he said I was stupid. I'm like, no, I think you just proved you're stupid. I'm like, if you think you know Trump or any of these presidents, then you're an idiot. And so you're out here with your signs and I don't know what you're trying to prove here. And so that's how that ended. And so it was crazy that the guy was almost going to hit me in the head. And I was like, I was like, I don't think so anyway, isn't that crazy?
That is.
That
that's
he
wild.
was that mad. And he was older than me. He had to be maybe in his late 60s or 70s, you know?
Wow.
And, yeah. And I said, you're supposed to respect. I said, you're supposed to respect the position. I said, we both raised our hand and swore to defend this country and was willing to give our lives. And this is how you act. Like, I was like, yeah, I tried to be like JLP, but when he accused me of being an illegal alien and that I was going to have to swim back, and I was like, and he walks away like he's right. That's why I told him, get the hell back here. I know the type. You know, they get angry, they drink their beer, and I don't know what else they do. But yeah,
it's
so
not
there's
surprising.
that story.
It's not surprising that a male, elderly liberal would be kind of out of control like that. If you think about it, you know, people are angry, and as you age, if you still have that anger, although it's not fitting, sometimes you can go off.
It festers, grows, and becomes bitter. You become bitter, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, I don't want to be that as I get older.
Right.
I want to be freer. So that's why I appreciate what you all do. So, all right, there's my story. I'll let you all go. Shout out to, let's see, Hayden, Mark.
Indeed. Shout out.
Who else? Who else can I shout out? And there's this one female that's she's really nice to listen to. Her voice is calming.
Cool.
I think it's Kaylee or Kay. Hay? I can't remember. But
Nice.
shout out, and I gotta get back to work, sir.
All right, man. Thanks for the call, William. Appreciate it.
All right, peace out.
You as well. Okay, guys. If we mosey on over to the HakeReport.com, while I'm at it, let me just refresh my buymeacoffee.com/the Hake Report. Thank you, Lin Yan Chin. Actually, I knew to look, Lin Yan Chin, for your super chat yesterday because I spotted that you said that you super chatted in the live chat. I happened to look at the snake pit. So we'll see if that thing ever loads. In the meantime, if we check out the blog post for today, I have a few things that I'd like to touch on. The MI6. Did you hear this in Hake News at the end of the Jesse Lee Peterson Hour 1? MI6, woman-led. Blaze Metrewelli. I can't even say English names. I guess that's an English name. Secret Intelligence Service. It's a woman at the head of MI6. MI6, if you don't know, that's the UK, United Kingdom's, the English secret agent men and women now. Israel and Iran is warring. Day 5 already. Wow. Trump left G7 early to head to the Situation Room. Is he going to get things under control, or is it going to go out of control with his blessing or what? Don't know. I saw a bunch of people on X were all up in arms about that. I may get to that. About the Israel-Iran war and our perhaps coming involvement in it. And you guys are all up in arms about it. There's, I think, Dave Smith, comic Dave Smith. I've never mentioned him before, but I guess you could call him a competitor. I don't think he's a Christian, though. But he's sort of an emotional guy, and he's, though he's Jewish, he's critical of Israel and Trump's support for Israel. And so I know a lot of you guys are, too. So you can call in and educate me, I guess. I think you guys are way ahead of yourselves. The spending bill, I don't care, but they've been getting some updates in the Senate, and they're going to send it back to the House, I guess, or make a deal in the House and then pass it to Trump. We'll see what happens. I don't know. The National Institutes of Health grants have been cut. A whole bunch of grants have been cut. And some judge, William Young, Y-O-U-N-G, don't know if that's a white man or an Asian man. I haven't bothered to look it up at this time. But you know how the Trump administration was cutting the gender identity junk and the DEI junk. It's more like gender misidentity, right? And DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this judge is calling it like racist or something silly. He had a quote about it, actually. And calling it a discriminatory against LGBTIQ mess. National Institutes of Health. So they do this anti-white, anti-family stuff, and then Trump tries to fix it, and anti-whatever, just a bunch of communist propaganda studies to validate that stuff, because they all have an agenda. And he's for there might occasionally be a scientist who actually wants the truth, but most of them don't. They may think they do, they may pretend to, but they don't. They're human beings just like you and me. Biased as HE double toothpicks and brainwashed like crazy. They're like younger than us. They're a bunch of dummies. I'm tempted to look at this Judge William Young. What did he say? Arbitrary and capricious. Like Trump doesn't have a right to be arbitrary and capricious in how he executes the law, right? Behind the government's actions, it's clear that there was racial discrimination and discrimination against America's LGBTQ community, which is a communist buzz phrase. It's not a real thing, okay? Yeah, they try to come together, but they don't get along. It's not a community. Communities are made of families, or at least it used to mean that. The ruling is expected to be appealed. I'm all up in arms about it. I don't actually care. But it's just crazy. Mike Lindell, remember this name? Eric Coomer. of Dominion voting systems. Apparently he and probably some lawyers, right? They sued Mike Lindell, apparently. And they found him guilty of defaming. Guilty or liable? Whatever. Because in a lawsuit, are you liable or are you guilty? Is defamation a crime or is it a civil offense? I don't know. So some federal jury in Colorado, long lost Colorado, once based Colorado, run by a not morally straight governor, by the way, who violate the Colorado Civil Rights Supreme Court or something, some Human Rights Commission or something. They went after that Christian who didn't want to bake the so-called same-sex wedding cake, Masterpiece Cake Shop. He was interviewed by JLP, the owner of that cake shop. So Colorado's been gone for a long time. They've had pot longer than anybody else. But they sued the MyPillow guy. They called him a conspiracy theorist. Because he called Eric Coomer a traitor. So don't be so loose-lipped, guys, and accuse him of stealing the 2020 election. And you shouldn't really be loose-lipped and accusatory like that, honestly. Both for the sake of decency, since you don't know, right? I think. Unless this guy knows something that I don't. Mike Lindell, that is. But also for the sake of these courts. Just the courts are against the truth. They're also against right-wingers who don't tell necessarily the truth. They get into speculation, and Mike Lindell may have been into speculation as opposed to strictly the truth, you know, the facts. So be careful what you're being saying about people. Slander and libel and all that stuff. First of all, for decency, like I said before, you don't want to do that to people. That's not right. And second of all, the courts are against you anyway. Like the Bible says, obey the laws of the land and, you know, they're the authorities. Not that this is like necessarily against the law, but you know that the dominant culture is going to come down hard on you. A white man, a rich white man, successful white man, turned himself around, supports our greatest president. You're not going to get a decent, fair trial. I'm not saying that this trial was unfair necessarily. I don't know. I don't care. They gave Coomer, it's his name, okay, $2.3 million in damages. I remember that name. I forgot about that name. Dominion Voting Systems. And yeah, I saw that Dominion, they put out, just like any other big company, right, that kisses up to the government or kisses up to the mainstream culture, any bank or anything, like restaurants around here, they all kiss up to the gay, LGBT, women, feminist, all anti-racism agenda. So they come off as very liberal, extremely liberal, not unbiased, you know, in terms of how they present themselves. It's so funny, too. It's so funny to me. Oh, yeah, hold on. NIH grants. Mike Lindell versus Eric Coomer. Dominion's Eric Coomer. Pardon me. Pardon my strange interlude. It's so funny to me that I forgot what I was going to say now. It's important, though, I think, to me, sort of. Where was I? I forget. Maybe it'll come back to me. There is definitely a double standard, though, about the truth and decency and justice. And knowing that, you know it, okay? You know it. Don't fall for the trap of trying to expose the double standard. And this isn't what I was going to say, but you may recall 10, 11 years ago, maybe more, there were these knockout games. Black on white crime, black on Asian crime. Young blacks, guys would go and just sucker punch some guy, one person and out of their crew, and just sucker punch and knock them out dead cold, sometimes dead. They even knocked out some fellow black guys, just angry young men. One white guy did it, and I suppose maybe in his dark mind, you know, the devil in your mind, got him to go like find a older black man and say N-word, and then clocked him. I think he might have killed him, I forget. And he got prosecuted for hate crimes. All the other blacks, no federal prosecution for hate crimes. And I disavow any notion of hate crimes anyway. It's silly. But unsurprisingly, there's a double standard of justice. And it's actually not long ago. They're probably still doing it, the knockout game type thing. There's a passage in the Bible that I started to reference. Obey the governing authorities Bible. Since Mr. Pink is in the chat, he'll appreciate this. And this is NIV, okay? It's what people call a liberal translation. I call it a liberal translation. But, let's see, sword. I feel like I remember reading this. What in the world? Sword. Can I spell it? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, right here. This is Romans 13. Submit to the governing authorities. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities. There is no authority, which kind of includes nowadays the commie capitalist overlords, YouTube, right? Facebook, Google, Instagram, Meta, whatever. There is no authority except that which God has established. Authorities that exist been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted. And those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. Rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Do what is right, and you will be commended. For the one in authority is God's servant for your good, but if you do wrong, be afraid, for rulers do not bear the sword for no reason. They are God's servants, agents of wrath, to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities not only because of possible punishment, also because of possible punishment, but also as a matter of conscience. That's why you pay taxes. The authorities are God's servants. Give you their full-time governing. Give their full time to governing. This is being a little bit. You may say, "Oh, these are evil people." Yeah. Oh, big wow, who's not evil, right? Give to everyone what you owe them. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. Revenue, respect, then respect. If honor, then honor. Right on. It feels like Trump is kind of doing this too, you know? He's trying to do what is right as far as it depends on you in the eyes of all men, and then sometimes you just can't do that because the people's judgment is so off. The people are so blind and judgmental, they'll call it wrong no matter when you're even doing right. But stay within the bounds. Don't be angry and rebellious. Well, read the KJV one and you'll get it right, Hake, says Mr. Pink. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to take the time to switch to the KJV since I already read through that, but you catch the drift, right? It's like it's a good policy. Shout out. See, look at this. I might have to pull this in. I might have to pull this over. I'm checking for the super chats over here. Just go back to the dashboard real quick. Hey, okay, yeah. See, I just logged in this morning and it logged me back out. And maybe it has to do with the cookies. Because over there it has cookies. Hey, I did see a whole bunch of you guys gave some super chats. I'm glad I bothered to check this. So, double standard. Yeah, the one white guy gets prosecuted, as he kind of should. He got what he deserved. But none of the blacks did. So, it's an evil government, but still respect it. You better. Respect the law. Just because it's unjust or whatever doesn't mean you don't still respect it. Okay, look, Sion and Nikki. Look at all these people. Harmony, thank you for your 3 coffees yesterday. Nikki, 5 coffees, very generous. What's going on in the world is terrible, but it's fine. Laughing face with white heart emoji. Great band, by the way. Or was it sometimes? Sion, thumbs up with a tan / medium black skin. Love, this is love, okay, kids? And trumpet or loud speaker bullhorn type thing. Nice, thank you. Popcorn says it should be freedom from consequence. Oh, in terms of free speech, right? Yeah, because the communists say, and intellectuals will say, freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequence. I'm like, forget you. You know what I mean? Dang. Sorry, kids, ladies. Supers. Coffee. Popcorn. Yes, it should be freedom from consequence. That was the title of one of your shows from a few weeks ago. Cool. Good memory. And it was a reference to the notion that people do have freedom of speech, but not the freedom from consequence, parentheses S, consequences of their speech. Well, veteran journalist Terry Moran was fired by ABC for a tweet in which he called Stephen Miller and the Great White Hope world-class haters. My question is, in your opinion, should Terry Moran have been free from the consequence, firing, of expressing his opinion, speech on his X account? Interesting. Or should ABC have the right to discriminate against him by firing him for making his opinion public for any reason they choose? Yes and yes. But if ABC had the spirit of the freedom of speech, they might not have fired him, you know, because what you do, Terry Moran should have a disclaimer at the top of his X account, or say it right. Say it now. What I post on my X does not represent the views of me necessarily, nor of my employer, that. But it's interesting, Popcorn, because prior to you asking me this, I was kind of didn't care / almost kind of glad, actually, that he got fired. But you're right. It should be freedom of consequence, because that's his opinion. He's exposed himself. It's not as if ABC News doesn't think that Trump and Elon Musk or whoever, or Stephen Miller, are world-class haters. They're hate-filled people who are projecting the ABC people. You know, probably most of the ABC people are every bit as are as judgmental, blind, and vicious as Terry Moran. Because Terry Moran is projecting his hatred on Stephen Miller and Trump. I don't know if he called Trump world-class hater, but he definitely went after Stephen Miller. And I get it. Maybe Stephen Miller does hate. I don't know. He's not a Christian. But he's like probably my 6th favorite Jew, as I've mentioned many times. Stephen Miller. What happens to your stance of freedom for consequence is at odds with seemingly the right to discriminate, which you support? That's honestly a situation between whoever the parties are, okay? Because there is a right to discriminate, and it's not necessarily at odds with the freedom from consequence, okay? Because you have your freedom of speech, but there's also respect with your employer and stuff. Like, you shouldn't smear your employer. It's called decency. At that point, you've exposed yourself as not a decent person, and nobody's gonna respect you. Look at all these women who Me Too'd a whole bunch of their former bosses and coworkers and stuff. Nobody respects those women. They pretend to, but they don't respect them. They're not trustworthy. And all these female-minded males who just smear the people who've helped them and stuff. That's, as a consequence, nobody respects them. They judge them. But you shouldn't judge them, but you do. But they've also exposed themselves as not trustworthy, so you know not to respect them, but don't judge them. There is a lynch mob mentality that has infected the right, partly because the left has gone so out of control with it and seemed on the outside to go so, to be successful with it, because they've just lynched people. Metaphorically speaking, of course. For the most part, they haven't actually killed many people, many of the people about whom I'm thinking. But they've just smeared the character of all these people who've said and done things that they had the right to say and do. And in some cases, they were perfectly right in saying and doing exactly what they said or did. I think of people like, George Zimmerman. He had the right to self-defense. But they want to get into their imaginations and call it who's that guy who I never get over? Ivana, what's that guy's name from way back in the 50s or 60s? Exactly, Lincoln. No judgment, but these H's aren't loyal. Golden Rule says Dave Smith is my favorite Jew. Wow. Even more favorite than Jesus? If Jesus is Jewish, people say whatever. Is he Ashkenazi, Jesus? Anyway, fun topic, popcorn. I appreciate you for that, as always. Terry Moran, come work for Punchy TV. I think he got hired by somebody else. Nikki is now a member. Thank you, Nikki. Happy birthday. It's not actually my birthday, but nice. It was just my birthday, just back in July. Okay, so this person calls himself I'll call him the Z one because I don't like that term. Zesty. You're not fully clean unless you're zestfully clean. Says, I disavow everything that I've said or typed since February 2023 to you and your cohorts because then we can just be as disrespectful as long as we disavow, I guess. To Mark, loved hearing the good news about David Duke. That sounds vicious, Mr. Z. But Mr. Z, a lot of those, radicals, we'll call them. Radical, he called himself that, so whatever. Radical pro, not morally straight, in terms of the sex thing, are really vicious and vindictive, mean, nasty people. So I'm not surprised that he thinks it's good news that David Duke has cancer. It's not right. Anyway. The best thing that you've ever said. Happy birthday, Alex. Now we are sure to get more flat songs from him. Flat Earth? Good thing your callers don't require a drug test to call in. What's that reference to? Thank you for asking Jeff to slow down. Yeah, it helps, huh? You can understand Jeff from Louisiana when he slows down. And that was his idea, by the way. I knew you couldn't understand Boom Hour just how I can't. There's times if I'm listening intently, I hear it okay. He'll just call and curse and disrespect you again. Hey, that's his freedom of speech. I mean, just don't cuss on air. But in my personal life, I had an interesting call yesterday. Stand up, we got fighting to do. Interested in hearing the end of JLP sometimes. Anyways, a girl morally gay means happy. Guy am I, by sweetie pie, Hake bear, 5 laughing faces with tears, 3 of God's promised rainbows, and another laughing face with tears coming out. Thank you, sir. So, what in the world did I just do? Oh, okay, whatever. Oh, I must have clicked on the HakeReport.com. You got to watch out where you click anytime they're on Hake litters his page. I litter my page. I litter the Hake report pages with links. So watch where you click. Okay? FYI. Manuel in California is going to be on the line in just a moment. Let me get to him right now. Manuel in California, what's up, man?
Mr. Hake, how you doing?
Doing well. How about you?
Doing good.
Cool.
So yesterday, Ronnie mentioned the transatlantic slave trade, right?
Yeah, he did.
Do you remember when I called in when he mentioned those empires, Mali, Loba, and Kush?
I recall
Do you remember him
What? Say again?
Do you remember him mentioning the Mali?
Yes.
I called in that day and I was like, oh yeah, they were part of the transatlantic slave trade, the trans-Saharan slave trade, same thing, but they were one of the biggest influences in that. I was waiting for him to bring that up, but I know he didn't mean it to bring it up in that way. It's more to putting it like, oh, white people, you know?
It seemed that way. I mean, I don't. He's so black. He is more typical black than he may realize. I was thinking about him yesterday. Go ahead.
That's the first thing that came to my mind was, well, either there's two ways this is going. Either there was never really a black civilization, or there was a black civilization, but they don't want to talk about their own involvement in their own slave trading.
Yeah.
Because no matter what country you go to, whether it's China, Africa, Europe, Russia, America, Mexico, Brazil, every single country had slaves. The only people that don't want to admit that they had slaves and soul trade slaves were the blacks.
Yeah.
If they just, like, it's not even that big of a deal. If you just admit it
totally
to it,
isn't.
like, yeah, you know what? We did have slaves. Because guess what? Every other country has slaves. It's not really that big of a deal. And it just even the playing field as in your arguments now. Because now you're not just being biased.
Right.
You know, focusing on what everyone else is doing. You know how it is when you ask certain people questions, and not just the blacks, but just angry people. They go instantly to the other side, like women. You ask them something about women, they go straight to the men.
Yeah.
Well, they did this, or they do this, you know. If it wasn't for them, we'd be like this. So it's not just a color thing. You know, I'm sure Ronnie isn't, like, dead set on color.
Right.
But it is one of the biggest factors that he uses for his arguments, or his thoughts, or his process of thinking.
Yeah.
He's not dumb. You can tell he's smart because when you ask him questions, I like that about him. He doesn't answer your questions. He answers it how he wants to answer it.
Yeah.
That's how I am. Like, if someone asks me a question and I really don't want to give them that answer, I'll answer it the way I want it to be answered.
Yeah.
Or I answer it the way it should have been questioned, you know?
Right.
He's pretty good at that. I'll give him that. He's smart.
Yeah. That's funny,
I have
man.
nothing against him. He's a cool dude. He's at least he's respectful. He's not like getting all crazy with you all the time. Or
Yeah, at the end of it all, he's friendly, or he knows to act friendly, and he agrees with Jesse about the anger thing. I don't know how deeply that is, but that's on him. It's not my issue. Yeah, exactly.
right.
And he knows how to be
not
pretty
really.
orderly. One thing I do think I vaguely notice about him is he knows not to interrupt. He's pretty orderly in that way and disciplined. That's cool.
Right. He'll continue talking, you know, when he's
Right.
talking, which is completely understandable because you got the floor. But what I've noticed too is like the orderly thing. Like he knows to not get out of line. That's the wrong way of saying it. He knows how to carry himself in a conversation to where there is no emotion because, you know, that's how you get to the other person's skin, is showing no emotion. You know, you're not swayed by other people's words. You know, he stays very focused on what he's saying because he knows he can't be the one to break character.
Yeah.
You know, I'm the same way. Like, I know not to break character if I'm in a debate or whatever with somebody. Like, you want to see and stay calm and then handle the situation.
That's right.
But he ain't dumb. He knows a lot. Like Barack Obama, he knows for sure the whites don't only vote for the whites because they're white.
Right.
I mean, Obama got in, bro.
Yeah.
Come on. And if he wants to play that game, he's a race trader. Because didn't he trade for Trump?
Say again? Didn't he what?
Isn't he a race trader then, since he voted for Trump?
I don't think he voted for Trump. I'm almost positive he did not vote for Trump.
I'm positive he didn't vote at all. But I know that he was saying he's not going to vote for Kamala.
Right.
And he'd rather vote for Trump. Not saying that he did, but if you voted by your own logic, like you said, blacks or whites vote for the whites, well, you're not white. And if you're black, you should have voted for your Kamala, who's an Indian, but, you know, you call her black, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Ronnie, but there's a few things that if you just let go, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things I need to let go of too, but probably this whole Molly and Kush thing. I keep calling in about it.
So those guys were involved. They were selling, they were capturing / buying / selling or whatever black slaves, African slaves.
Right. All you gotta do is I go to Brave AI when I do my research.
Right on.
But you just go there and just type in the Molly transatlantic slave trade, and bam, it'll say like, oh yeah, Molly abolished it, but they still have it going on to this day. So how do they abolish it if it's still going on? You know, it's kind of like since you can't prove the past, you know, you can just say what you want about it. They'll say that.
Yeah.
But if they still have slavery today, I guarantee you they never abolished it back in the day. And if they did abolish it, all it was like a prohibition, not an abolishment.
Yeah. You
But
know,
yeah,
I don't know if does Mali still exist? I guess it might, but Libya is where I've heard about the slavery going on today. I don't know who's being enslaved over there.
70% of Africa. I think 70% of Africa still has slaves or does slave trading.
Nice. Yeah.
In Mali, it says right here that there's certain groups that aren't that are born into slavery. Oh, just reading. Oh, right here. This form of slavery is particularly prevalent among the Tuareg and Fulani communities in central and northern Mali. But they're born into slavery.
Wow.
In modern times, decent. I don't know if that's decent or descent. What is DESCENT?
Descent.
Okay, I'm no genius, so you guys can pick on me. In modern times, descent-based slavery persists in Mali, where individuals are born into a status of slavery due to their alleged ancestry.
Nice.
To this day.
Yeah.
Where's that little ad-lib clip you can hit?
Yeah, I gotta play that sometimes. That's funny.
So anyways, I'll get off that. But Tim Walz, remember, or not Tim Walz, that Minnesota killer? Remember that? You guys were talking about it yesterday, quick moment?
Yes. Yeah, the guy who allegedly assassinated the politician and her husband and tried to kill another politician and his wife.
Right. Who do you think promoted him to his job?
Oh, I heard that he worked for Tim Walz, the governor, right?
Exactly.
Now, does that have anything to do with the situation at all?
No, I'm just saying that, well, what I'm getting at is that they like to portray this right-wing killer, you know what I mean? Like, it's always right-wing people that are serial killers, school shooters.
So they claim, yeah. But it tends to be liberals.
Right. And did you know that 100% of school shooters were on some type of antidepressant of some sort?
Is that true, or is it just like a high percentage?
100%.
100%? Where did you hear that?
I didn't. I heard it on a podcast, and I did some research on the Brave AI after that because I didn't believe it either.
Yeah.
No way. You know.
I mean, I know that I've heard it's very common because it just is very common for these people. They were on them, and then they get off of them, and then they that's when they go crazy because when you get off of them, especially when you're not weaning off of them, the voices become stronger in your head. That's what I hear.
It's like a withdrawal.
I've never taken this stuff, okay? I don't dox whether I've taken it, put it that way. But no, I've never.
Yeah. I know some people that take them, and
yeah.
Oh, man, they got some, not problems, you know what I mean? Like, you can just tell they're lost in their head, and that's not helping at all.
Right.
In my mind, you know, it probably might be helping them or whatever, but to me, you're just avoiding the situation with what you're doing. Just like smoking pot. I smoke pot, not as much as anyways. I smoke pot, and I can tell I avoid things. I don't want to face this, or I want to kill some time, or whatever it is. So I know it's the same concept. You're just taking it to get by kind of deal, and go from there. But my whole thing with that too.
Was he a liberal? Because I'm looking at this picture that somebody put on X, and they could totally be trolling me. So okay, but Juanita Broderick posted a picture of him getting arrested. Anybody surprised he's still alive and he's clean shaven? Which after let's say you did a shooting and you had a beard and you want to hide from the law, you would shave your face. Kind of obvious thing. I don't know, because he was on the run for like a day. But somebody named Zealny Pies Argus 03 posted this photo, but I don't know if this is true. But because he was a Republican, they call him a registered Republican, and he had a hit list, they call it, and a manifesto, according to police, which makes me think that, and he was targeting pro-abortion, so-called rights groups. But there's this picture of purportedly him with a woman. I think that this woman has this T-shirt that says, "I think, therefore I am a Democrat." And there's this picture that looks like it might be of him saying, it says resist on his T-shirt, a white T-shirt with a communist fist, and it has a pistol sticking out of the fist. Resist. And so I don't know what this means. I don't know if that's him or where he stands, because there's people fighting over whether he was a liberal or a conservative terrorist, assassin.
Right.
And he killed Democrats, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, just like the guy that shot at Trump, he was a registered Republican too.
Yeah. But evil is evil, and there's a lot of Republicans who hate Trump, so it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And
he could be a Republican, but...
And he's 21 years old. I mean, he probably registered what his parents are and then turned... Who knows? You could do that and then turn liberal, or... I knew people who grew up reading Drudge, and now they're like off the deep end liberal. Radical.
Right.
So
that's why, to me, when I hear Republican or conservative, all that, I really don't care. Because some people are rhinos. Some people are, they're not really what they believe. They want to just be in the middle without having to choose a side. They don't want to get off the fence.
Right.
Whatever, cool. Have your phone on wherever you want to be, but when it lines up to where I see with Tim Walz is definitely not a Republican or a conservative whatsoever.
Right.
So if he's in that side of the party, I'm pretty sure he's either like a liberal or like a progressive of some sort. That'll say, yeah, I'm a Republican progressive, which just means I'm progressive, but I want to shine on to the Republicans, to get their votes or whatever, all a game, they play the costumes or whatever they need to fit.
Yeah.
Dang, there was one more thing I was going to tell you. Tim Walz. Yeah, I don't remember. There's something to do with all that. Yeah, anyway, thanks, Ronnie, for telling me about Molly. I didn't really know they were the biggest transatlantic slave traders, but I appreciate the history, Ronnie.
Nice. Shout out.
Shout out. Thanks, Hake.
Thank you, sir. Take care, Manuel. Bye. Manuel in California. So, yeah, nice. Let me get back a little bit to the news. You know what's funny? Speaking of drugs, I knew this guy. I went to high school with this guy, Dr. Salvador Plasencia. I actually knew there's more than one Salvador Plasencia, right? But he's like this Latino doctor who gave Matthew Perry, you heard of Matthew Perry, that actor? This guy, 43 years old, urgent care clinic operator in the Los Angeles area, could face up to 40 years in prison in connection with the actor's 2023 death. I didn't know him that well. I didn't interact with him, but I remember seeing him. I might have... I'm sure he knew of me because I was sort of famous. And then I sort of knew of him. My friend who's a doctor, who's like a straight-laced doctor, sent me this tip a year ago well, almost a year ago in August, I guess, when they arrested him or started to go after him. The feds went after this guy because he has agreed, according to the United States, the feds, to plead guilty for supplying ketamine illegally to Matthew Perry, that actor from that degenerate TV show Friends, because he couldn't get it legally, according to this failing New York Slimes outlet article by Neil Vigdor, published June 16th. By the way, Juneteenth is coming up, and that's Women's Forum. Nobody ever heard of Juneteenth unless you're from Galveston, Texas. And Black, a doctor who illegally supplied the Friends actor, degenerate TV show. One of my Chinese friends learned English by watching that TV show, though. Matthew Perry with the drug ketamine in the weeks leading. It wasn't even the ketamine that killed him. But I guess you do it illegally or something. I guess it's a prescription drug, and if you say one clinic rejected him, so I don't know, he could face up to 40 years in prison. I'm like, 40 years? That's steep. And a $2 million fine for 4 criminal accounts. And this is something, I wonder if Matthew Perry would support this, were he alive today. Yeah, get him. Or, no, I wanted this. I wanted this. Look at him. He's just an innocent Latino-looking, nice family doctor guy. 43, urgent care clinic operator in Calabasas. He knew where to go to get the money or to deal with the people who had the money. But it backfired on him because he apparently didn't obey the law, or at least not very strictly. Matthew Perry publicly struggled, according to the New York Times. I didn't know about it because I don't pay attention to these people. With drinking and drug use for decades. He was found floating face down in a hot tub, that's like a jacuzzi, in his Los Angeles home, October 28th, 2023, the tender age of 54 years old. Reminds me of that other guy who died from L.A., over whom they did the riots, Rodney King. He was also in his 50s or maybe early 60s, and he overdosed or something, and he drowned in his swimming pool. Terrible. Ooh. Autopsy said that drowning, coronary artery disease, and the effects of an opioid called buprenorphine had contributed to his death. So is buprenorphine ketamine or what? Well, somebody said ketamine killed him, but I don't see ketamine listed. But I'm just a dumb boomer who doesn't know anything. So maybe CJ can tell me, because CJ actually reads primary sources, and I don't bother with that stuff. Ketamine has its psychedelic properties has emerged increasingly popularly as an alternative therapy for anxiety, depression, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other mental health issues. Also used recreationally. I disavow. So from late September to mid-October 2023, it's like a month roughly, a little bit less than a month, he supplied Mr. Perry with 20 vials of ketamine, a partly used package of ketamine lozenges and syringes, according to federal prosecutors. This is the guy who got himself killed. He died. He overdosed. Presumably accidentally. And drowned, actually. Is that a real 10 or a fake 10, or is it, I don't know. But I never liked his look when he was in that TV show. But I never really watched that. I didn't watch that TV show at all. I remember being surprised when a Christian college friends of mine at the Christian college I attended would watch that degenerate TV show. Another defendant, this woman, Jasveen Sangha, she supplied him with the ketamine that killed him, so said investigators. Okay, so the ketamine killed him, or the autopsy says it's something else, but so autopsies won't say that it was ketamine. Just like the autopsy on Georgia Florida's thing wouldn't say that it was that thing that you guys say it was, the fentanyl, which I disavow. Just because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't know. Ms. Sangha Jasveen, Jasveen, Sangha. Prosecutors say she was known to her customers as the ketamine queen. She pleaded not guilty. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. I disavow it. It's funny, but I disavow it. It's not good at all. But Ketamine Queen is sort of a funny name. Customers would come up with something like that. Awaiting trial in August. So a lawyer for Dr. Plasencia, Salvador Plasencia, he wasn't my friend, okay? I wasn't close to him. I didn't help him cheat to become a doctor. I mean, we were in high school, okay? Well, he's been scheduled to face trial. Oh, but they say he's agreed to plead guilty. So come August, he'll have the trial and he'll plead guilty. So they claim. Charged 5 people in this guy's death when it's basically all his fault. But yeah, when he died, it kind of brought attention, and then they investigate and they find, oh, you guys are doing bad things. Because they have all these laws around drugs. And I agree with drug laws a lot, I think, sort of. 3 of the 5 pleaded guilty last year, including his personal assistant, the actor's personal assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa. What type of name is that? I don't want to speculate, but I'm going to speculate. Is that Japanese or some other name, some other type of name? I don't know. I don't think that sounds quite Japanese, but it could. You know how these Japanese people are. Shout out. We mainly had Chinese people in my neighborhood. Conspiracy to distribute ketamine causing death. Dr. Mark Chavez admitted to selling ketamine to Dr. Plasencia. Pleaded guilty. So he sold it to the doctor. What? Conspiracy to distribute ketamine. Eric Fleming, an acquaintance, pleaded guilty to account. See, look. So he played Chandler Bing. I don't even like that name, Chandler. Shout out to anybody named Chandler. You can call in and make me like that name now. I'll like the name, just because there's some innocent people who may be called Chandler. But he ruined the name. Not that I ever particularly liked or cared about or knew about that name. Blah, blah, blah. He left ketamine. This was interesting. He visited Mr. Perry's home several times to inject him with the drug. Ugh. He also met in a public parking lot at a Los Angeles area aquarium where he administered the drug while Matthew Perry sat in the back of the seat of his own vehicle, the actor's vehicle. Crazy, huh? Ooh. And you know what's funny is these evil people who don't mind their own business. Okay, this is him. He looks the same as he did in high school, except, I mean, I guess it doesn't look exactly like a high schooler. But funny, huh? Don't try to schedule an appointment, I guess. I don't know, is he still working? Maybe he is. What a mess. So, chin up, King. Praying for you. I apologize if it's inappropriate for me to laugh. It's a crazy situation, though. I wanted to show you guys these evil people. Let's see. Come on. Okay, so that's a picture of him. That's the picture of the actor. That's the thing. I tried not to dox. There's his background. That's where he grew up. He graduated from Arroyo High School in Monte, California. Blah, 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 blah. I went over to, shout out. The autopsy revealed his death was an accident caused being acute effects of ketamine. Oh, okay. So cause of death different from whatever the autopsy said. Contributing factors: drowning, coronary heart artery disease, and effects of buprenorphine, whatever. They announced not my friend. People are going to start saying all kinds of crazy connections. August of 2024, this is a USA Today article. Ann Milgram, U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA administrator, Ann Milgram, stated in a statement that the physician previously owned the clinic in Malibu Canyon Urgent Care and his co-defendants played a key role in Perry's death by falsely prescribing, selling, or injecting the ketamine. I guess that's true, right? Look, these are Google reviews of the guy. Great doctor, listens to and cares about his patients. I believe that. Fantastic and empathetic physician. I believe that. 5-star doctor. Did something wrong. And they call it falling to like greed or temptation or whatever. I think, as I recall, there was some headline where they called him an idiot, or they called him, this sucker is just we're making easy money off of this guy. He's a ketamine fiend or whatever. Somebody said something to that effect, and I could, I mean, what else are you going to say about him? It's the truth. Dr. P. Placencia is our go-to, said this gal. And don't harass these people, but they're just giving like honest reviews. Helped our whole family with numerous illnesses and scares. More helpful to us than any other doctor we've ever been to. Always incredibly kind and works with urgency. Everyone giving 1 star just to give 1 star. Get a life! Because there's a whole bunch of people giving him 1 star. And they didn't go to him. They're just giving 1 star. You know how Google and Yelp reviews get all politicized because somebody's involved with something and you get mad about it because Matthew Perry, it's his own fault. He's dead, basically, right? Right? I think so. Rest in peace. Dr. P. Placencia. Fantastic doctor to me and others, which is the reason he had 5-star across the board. Now people are purposely giving 1 star just to mess up his ratings. I mean, he's maybe going to go to prison. Is it going to matter? We wish him well, Chin-Up King. Fantastic and empathetic physician, meaning he has empathy. Might be liberal, but don't know. Meaning he felt sorry for you when you were hurting, type thing. I would recommend this doctor without reservation. Very knowledgeable and skilled as a medical doctor. I wonder if those were reactionary reviews because there was all this negative attention. Great doctor, listens to and cares about his patients. Negligent, says some gal. 1 star. But you didn't even use him. That's a fake review, I bet. There's some guy says, people are so quick to judge with no experience of their own. The doctor did right by my wife and I. It should be my wife and me. Providing excellent care and being invested in a good outcome. I'm very sad this caring physician will no longer be available. It's a loss for the community and a loss for his many patients. 1 star, no message. 1 star, 1 star, 1 star, no message. All this mess. All these hateful people just messing up his Google reviews. I mean, that's the least of his worries. He could be going to prison. But I just found it interesting, human nature-y, nasty, how they're just going after him. It's horrible. Whatever. I forgot to cover. Anyway, whatever. Yes, I said I was sort of famous in high school because my whole family went to that high school. Anyway, doxed. Oh, by the way, a little side note. It's sort of warming here. American Anchor Baby is coming up, and by the way, you foreigners, try Yada Phone. Now, I'm not telling you to try Yada Phone, even though I just did. But if you go over to it, somebody in the UK claims that he called the Jesse Lee Peterson show, which somebody purportedly from the UK did call into the Jesse Lee Peterson show, claiming to call from a website, and this person claimed, without evidence, I don't know how you give evidence, that he used Yada Phone. You know how yada, 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 Y-A-D-A, phone, P-H-O-N-E, .com. And so I went to this webpage. I haven't gone any further than this. It could totally be a scam, so use it at your own risk. I disavow. It's not something endorsed by JLP or Bond or the network or anything. But it says it has rates from, meaning starting at 2 cents per minute, $2 US, hundredths of a US dollar per minute, which is 2 cents per minute, 2 US cents per minute. And now it could get a lot more expensive than that. Supposedly 50 times cheaper than your carrier, whatever that is. So balance, you know, you enter the phone number. So it would be 888-775-3773. You could add the contact, and it's or 888-77-JESSE, 888-77-5 is the J, 3 is the E, 7 is the S, 7 is the S, 3 is the E, JESSE, and hit dial and see if it works for you, and you dial right from your browser if you so please. Cool, huh? Call clients, banks, government office. So they claim, okay? Look into it. Make sure it's safe for you. Don't mess up your own or anybody else's computer or network or phone or whatever. Don't get hacked or phished or anything. But might be a solution. You still have to pay, but it's supposedly cheap. Anchor Baby looked into something called Zoom Phone, which is related to Zoom, which is a fairly trusted, website. It's surpassed Skype. You heard of Zoom? People do Zoom Cloud Voice over IP via VoIP, looks like. Voice over IP phone services. And I don't know, you get a virtual phone number. I don't know, you can call, but it costs money. So there's no way that I know of anymore now that Skype is destroyed, according to people I've heard, bought and destroyed by Microsoft. Shout out. Used to be that you could call using Skype for free. Now, if you have Google Voice, that means you have an American number. I don't know. So just something to look into. Let me know. Matthew Perry's doctor guilty? Question mark. Yada phone? Question mark. Zoom phone? Question mark. Just a little thingies. Do catch, by the way, American Anchor Baby. Coming up next. I will get to your calls, I think. And hopefully I get to your super chats as well. Joel Friday is gone. No more Joel Friday, okay, here. But American Anchor Baby is now right after Hake. Or right after the Fallen State on Fridays. Nice. Quick reading of the chat. I would like to acknowledge David over on Facebook. What about the authorities controlled by the ones who rebelled against another authority? Are they equally placed by God? I don't know. Oh, pardon me. I'm showing some quote about the assassination from the kids of the assassinated, purportedly. And it is confirmed, by the way, that Omar is coming on tomorrow. Third Rail with Omar. He's some of you guys' favorite. It's fun talking with him, so you can call in. But yeah, you in general want to respect everybody, and you in general it's good to respect authority. Not out of fear or compulsion, but out of good sense. I feel like I think Bibi is talking about, based Bibi Netanyahu, has some woman in there. He seems hateful and just always upset about something, crying about anti-Semitism. All one word, no hyphen. Just ungrateful. You could see it in his face when Trump said Israel's getting enough money as it is. I don't know. I haven't kept up closely with him. What's up, Coffee Talk with Sandra? I may be on her show. Maybe the 1st, January 1st, around 6 Pacific, around 8 Central, 9 Eastern, perhaps. I think that's a Tuesday. Perhaps. What's up, Coffee Talk with Sandra over there on Pilled? And Tyrannosaurus Rex says la la la. Mernin Hake. I like that spelling, Mernin. I'm tired of hearing myself talk, but let me just read one more super chat from Caesar, who says, sup, Hake? Mark's call yesterday was really entertaining. Laughing face with tears coming out. The way he tricked you and you catching on right before he hung up was hilarious. Dang, Mark, you truly earned your stripes as a caller on the Hake Report. Yeah, that was so messy. He totally got me. He's like, I want to say something positive about Jeff from Louisiana. And then Jeff called in and said, I don't care what he says, but I don't drink or smoke. Said something to the effect of he's always had that voice, his voice that he has. Nice. Thank you, Caesar. Right on. I'm glad I entertain you. Terrible. Also terrible is if I don't get to all the rest of these calls. Justin in California. I've been meaning to get to him forever. Justin in California. What's up, man? Thank you for calling and holding. Go for it.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Hake. How are you?
I'm doing well.
All right.
You know what? You might have been right about intervening in that situation over at Knott's Berry Farm. I was thinking about it because...
How so?
Because you kind of know how to be sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe not everybody should intervene, but you kind of have a harmless personality, meaning you mean no harm. I don't know if this is fair. I don't even know how you look, actually. You could be like huge, hulking, bulky, like imposing.
I am.
Oh,
yes,
you are? Okay,
yes.
That's funny.
Yes, my voice is meek, but my body is massive, yes.
Yeah, so your personality, but you have a meek personality and a strong body, so you were able to go and save your wife. I would have left my wife, but you were able to talk some sense into those people. Maybe with your specific skill stack, we'll call it, to steal a phrase from, I don't know, the Dilbert guy, who also has cancer, I heard.
Oh, dude.
But anyway, Scott Adams, it might have worked. I could see it working for you, even without knowing that you were actually fit and strong and massive. I could actually see it working for you, but not for everybody and not in every situation.
Totally. I mean, it's how you carry yourself. I put my fingers like peace.
Yeah.
But even though I'm meek and my voice can be kind of soft or kind of like talk nice a little bit, people just only shut up for a few moments because it's like the devil wants to like fight all the goodness that comes out of trying to like be self-controlled and pace the words you say. But, ultimately I'd say that I was raised by a father, okay? I just experienced a pretty cool Father's Day with my kids.
Nice.
But I thought about him, and, he was kind of like an absent father. He was always there, but, at some point it was like he was just too busy. And he got involved with the Students for a Democratic Society, SDS. So after the Vietnam War, a lot of the troops come home, and they basically, in the Midwest, tell Johnson, hey, bring our boys home by any means necessary. Stop this war. So I've always been a kind of like a pacifist, but by any means necessary is my approach, like being serious about it. Like we need to stop. If you need to neutralize a situation and you're well equipped to do so and your buddy's acting loud, you need to shut him up. You're in charge of your reality and you affect your community. So anyway, but back to my thing I was calling originally about, I think Iran has a supreme leader, quote unquote, and we got a very boisterous type of a president. He's like, I've got command of the air. So what do you think as a patriotic American who wants to be not so much peaceful, but strength through peace? Should we be there now, or should we tell our president to get the heck on out and let the Arabs and the Jews, battle it out? What should the stance of the American people be? Should we end this at some point? Because we're in already a couple-day war here, and now we're involved.
5 days, I think. They've been at it. They've been going at it, hot and heavy. Iran and Israel, according to what I read on CNN. Yeah, I heard, and as I was driving in this morning, I was listening to the news radio, and I thought I heard them talking about Trump is, unless I misunderstood, sending some troops, reinforcements or whatever, if you will, to be a presence over there, primarily to protect American things over there, because America has some bases, not necessarily bases, but stations over there. And so they're putting more numbers over there to protect the American assets. And I think I like that.
Interesting.
It's to me, I know that it doesn't look good because people are thinking, oh, boots on the ground and we're going to war for Israel. And I'm not really for that, I don't think. Unless Trump does it, and then I just trust him, I kind of implicitly trust Trump. But it's kind of like when you put a massive police presence in a city where you expect a riot, that tamps down the riot. That makes when you have an overwhelming force, they're not going to try anything. So hopefully Trump can have the military be an overwhelming force so that the Americans don't get overwhelmed, like Benghazi, Benghazi, 9/11, 2012, Hillary and Obama blamed a movie, anti-Muslim movie, for this riot that turned into a terror attack in which they killed Americans because the compound got overwhelmed in Libya, right? Benghazi, Libya. And if Trump has
you're right.
a whole presence over there, then they won't try anything. And then although those soldiers who go over there are in more danger than they would be if they were over here, overall, all of the soldiers will hopefully be safer and nothing will happen. It will be uneventful, hopefully. So that's my thinking. Hopefully I'm right. I don't know.
Well, you're making me think about Hillary Clinton when she was a Secretary of Defense and she was negligent in Benghazi and a lot of people were killed in our embassy. So you're right in that regards. I mean, if the police, let's say, going back to that Knott's Berry Farm thing, if there is actually security or whatever, walking through the lines, making sure people are calm, and a person says, you can't pass, they could have broken that up and made it a calmer thing for everyone. But when there's no sense of authority, right? So I don't know if we are the authority. I don't think so much Israel is the authority, but I looked at the map. I saw the images of the missiles and the curvature of the earth when it was or the curvature of how it's shooting out from the soil to the, I don't know what you call it, atmosphere. It just looked like
the trajectory,
ominous. Yeah, trajectory. And I was like, you're not going to see this a lot. But it's like, why do we need to see this? So since we can't make the supreme leader stop, possibly Trump's correct. He found his hiding location, he claims. It's reported at least. I read some things. And I don't know. But if he found the location of a quote-unquote supreme leader and he's telling him to stop the missiles or else, well, I think the ultimatum is going to be on deaf ears. Yeah. So anyways, but but in perspective, Ukraine, the population size compared to Iran, it's 4 times smaller. So why would we want to be getting involved in something like that, which is 4 times bigger of a war with Iran, and they're backed with Russia?
Oh, so, Iran is 4 times bigger than Ukraine in their population?
Yeah,
Wow.
So it's like World War IV going on here.
Dang. But are the Persian people happy with their leadership? Do they represent the people? Or, I mean, I'm not.
Oh, they hate it.
They hate it.
They want liberty, but we're not here to bring freedom.
That's right.
Kuwait went to Iraq. Okay, Kuwait went to Iraq, and we got involved with that. It wasn't Israel, and now Iran's like death to America, death to Israel. It means death to America. Well, we're already affiliated, so we know they're active and what their aims are. That's why they've went into our country. They've disturbed it with protests. They've done their little things here and there. But now it's becoming to a point where either we need to drop the whatever missiles and the force we have to just annihilate people, or we don't. We have to be about what we speak. And I think the period of time we live in is where in America, there's many people who are not American that claim to be American here. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are Iranian that claim to be, just normal Iranian people, don't want to follow the mullahs and don't want to follow the Shah. What are these names of these people? This particular country, yes, it's the biggest funder of terrorism. So either the world is going to come involved and do this together, or we're not going to be just us and Israel, is what I think. It's going to be a world effort. Russia's going to be involved, okay?
Wow.
China's going to be involved, okay?
Is Russia and China, are they more on the side of Iran?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they
Yes.
are. Yeah.
So you need to work with
And
those
I
people.
personally like Russia and China and Iran. I don't,
Those
I get
people are
I get
great.
that there's enemies about them, and there's sort of enemy-esque, but I think that
Their
I have more
government's
confidence
bad.
in
It's their
Trump
government's
than
bad.
I have more
That's all.
confidence in Trump as a man of strength and peace. The rest of these people, I don't know.
No, but listen, I'm saying, why doesn't Qatar, why doesn't Saudi Arabia, all these Middle Eastern countries right now speak up and say, stop it. See,
To
whoever
Iran?
is complicit, like whoever doesn't speak up is complicit. Okay,
Oh,
that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Right. So you stand back, you're observing it. Like I said, when I was at Knott's or whatever, to do a parallel, I had a wife. I had to go back. If I was single, maybe I would have been like, nah, let the security take care of it. I don't want to get involved. That's true. But if you have an obligation, you got to fulfill it, and you got to protect your spouse. You can't just be like, and mind you, my wife said, when she said stop, I did stop because I was going to go back because people were egging me on. They were like, they're still fighting again. They're fighting. Like, just because you saw me do something once doesn't mean I'm going to be your savior all the time. You all need to stop this person.
Right.
You all need to make peace right now. And I think people are victim mentality types, or like a sheeple mentality where they just follow along. And they don't all stand up and affect change. They are waiting for someone to do it. And this is where we're at a place where we're at today. The Jews aren't going to save us. The Islamists aren't going to save us.
That's for sure.
Christians can't save us. But
Indeed.
Jesus gives us the path for peace, and that can save humanity. We don't need World War, whatever, 3, 4, 5. We need peace. We need progress. That's really what the message is of life. So I'm not really about death and seeking death, but I'm all about, hey, peace by any means necessary. If we gotta enact, hey, Trump, we got to go home, then at some point we got to, or do what he's going to do, like do one thing and be done with it. It's not like a continual thing that we've got to be involved in.
That's interesting, man. I had these, I saw these tweets about the history of Iran and of America, and it's interesting how we went in and Britain or England or whatever went in and kind of messed things up and trying to make it more beneficial for ourselves in the short term, and in the long run, it's a mess right now, and partly because of our involvement or something, the CIA type of thing by us. So, what a mess.
Yeah, I mean, the UK, they divided up that area after World War II. So I think the U.S. worked with the UK. Like, that was our partner. So then the UK still needs to be involved in this. Whatever land disputes and borders that were created, like those Zoroastrian people, that's what I know, that live in Iran. Those people, up until like the 60s, I want to say 60s maybe, they were looking like Italians.
Yeah.
They dressed nice.
Yeah.
They dressed very much free, whatever they want to be, fancy or materialistic or showing their skin.
Yep.
Now it's like they can just show their toes, and you got a bunch of weirdos that are like lusting after them. Their religion, Zoroastrianism, was an ancient religion. Let them be. Why did Islam need to come in, and what did they do? Okay, they didn't need to come in, but they did. Now they forced everyone. So now they got bombed on. I'm not sure if you saw it, but whatever their main CNN or their main propaganda piece.
I saw that their TV station was bombed. Huh?
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep, I saw that right there. Like, my mom said to me, she's a very big pacifist too, and doesn't agree with all the Jews, what they do. But she said, oh my gosh, and I was like thinking to myself that these people never learn, and that this is the type of thing that karma, or you reap what you sow, or whatever you want to call it, is abundantly clear occurring to them. And that people should watch that video. That's what's going to happen to each and every country that acts like this. Trump's not going to allow it to happen. So we will have peace, but there's so much bloodshed if people in their pride don't wake up and tell their governments to stop it. The people of the world should rise up against governments that try to cause instability in their people.
Yeah.
If they don't, they will be subjected, because of their complacency, to the wrath of God, I think, is what you would call it.
Crazy, man. It's an interesting situation. I appreciate your call, Justin and Callie.
Yeah, let's pray for peace.
Yeah.
What can I pray for you for, Hake? You're a good man. I never ask you.
Peace would be great. Thanks, man.
Peace. And the only thing I want to ask for you and Nick should go do some man on the street sometime. You and the baby. You and Anchor Baby. Okay?
That's kind. Thank you for the request. Thanks, man.
All right. Bye.
All
Bye,
right.
man.
Take care. Anthony in SoCal on the line here. Anthony, go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. So Omar's coming on tomorrow and telling us what's really going on in the Middle East. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to remind you, I remember last time he called in, someone left a super chat on saying to let them know on the community board that Omar's calling in so that.
Oh, good idea. Yeah. Nice. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sure they got something to say. I don't know. You guys have a community board or something?
Well, I mean, on the Hake Report YouTube, I can do a community post saying it's kind of like a post with maybe a picture or a poll or just an announcement that, hey, I'm going to have Third Rail with Omar on tomorrow, and maybe they'll see it.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Facebook's an international type of platform, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, you had excellent calls earlier, man. I had so many things I want to comment on, but I guess I'll just piggyback off this last caller. I really do like his attitude towards, keeping things peaceful. It's not just us, though, that are getting involved. I mean, you have the United Kingdom, Germany, and who else was it? France and Australia. They're also helping Israel out with weapons, and I don't know if they're sending men over there. I hope we don't have to.
I think we already are, but it's
really?
not necessarily to get involved to fight with Iran or whoever on Israel's side. It's just to protect our stuff, I think. That's what I heard.
I see, like just show of force type thing.
Yeah, just to make sure that our stuff doesn't get messed with.
Yeah. I mean, we have interest there, but what? Those countries, Australia and France and the UK, you know what they have in common?
What's that? They rely on us.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, more importantly, they've recently had consistent legislation allowing Muslim immigrants to just kind of come in and not really assimilate. And now they're kind of dealing with the repercussions of that. And I think they kind of see the big picture with Iran. I mean, I don't want to be like a warmonger, but I think the issue now is the public is so discouraged with Israel and Gaza.
Yeah.
And we kind of want to be hands off, not realizing the threat of Iran for the past 50 years, not just on us, but for the world. They're just nut jobs, man. Like they're insane people.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard the same thing about Iran. What people claim about Israel is that Iran wants to take over the world. Their brand of Islam is about taking over the world, bringing in the third or fifth or eighth or whatever imam, and dominating. And who doesn't want to dominate? Of course. If they have power, they want more. People who get a taste of that power, they want more. So, people are full of ego and self. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just that brand of Islam. I mean, I think, my opinion, that's just...
It's human
really,
nature.
I mean, I think there's more influence from the Quran, and really the pure theology of Islam doesn't condemn that. It really promotes that.
I could totally believe that. Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're following. I mean, just to give people a good idea of really what
I got to wrap up in about a minute.
You familiar with the whole Tommy Robinson thing?
A little bit, that he's in jail or something for his...
the guy. He got put in solitary confinement for releasing a documentary.
Right. Because they called it slander or libel or defamatory against some teenager was their excuse, and I don't know if it's true or not. Man, I gotta run. Actually, I can't.
All right.
We'll talk more.
No, I'll try to call in with Omar and confirm his accuracy of the news. That should be entertaining.
That sounds good, dude. Take care.
Thanks. You too.
All right.
Bye.
You too. Guys, I gotta go. The rest of the callers, super chatters, there's a first-time caller there and others. I gotta get out of here. Anchor Baby coming up next. Peace in the Middle East, or at least in your hearts. Bye.